New developments in the multi-million-dollar fraud case involving Singaporean Malone Lam, accused of leading a network that stole $263 million in cryptocurrency. The 20-year-old is due back in court in the United States, where a judge could determine whether his trial will proceed. This right after a key co-conspirator pleaded guilty yesterday to laundering charges. Nick Harper is tracking this story for CNN. He joins us live from Washington, D.C. Now, Nick, what can we expect from Lam's court appearance, and how significant is this hearing?
Well, Angela, that hearing getting underway just a couple of minutes ago at 9:30 local time here today. The expectation is that it will be quite a brief hearing, but it could be a very important one, because during this, the judge is hoping to work out really a roadmap for the coming months. This is a pre-trial hearing, but during it, she is hoping to set a trial date for some point during the coming months. But there still seems to be a question, which the judge hopes to resolve at today's hearing, as to whether or not this will even go to trial. Now, Malone Lam, when he was arrested in the very early part of all of this, was offered a plea deal which he turned down. However, he has changed his defence team in the last couple of months. And at one of the last hearings that I was at about a month ago, there was questioning by his defence team to the judge and to the prosecution team about the defence team wanting to see the possibility of a new plea deal put on the table. Now, that is something that was being worked out behind the scenes. It's unclear whether or not that will be discussed or presented at today's hearing, but his defence team still seem keen to look at the possible parameters of a plea deal and what it could potentially mean if he decided to plead guilty. And of course, that would take away the possibility of a trial, which would take place in the coming months. He is expected to appear during this hearing alongside two other co-defendants, two other co-conspirators in all of this. And we also know that his lawyer has been pushing for Malone Lam to have a laptop that he would be able to access while he is detained in prison, giving him the ability to review the evidence that the prosecution team has. Because in recent months, the prosecution team has unearthed a lot more evidence than was initially discussed in the early phases of this pre-trial process. His defence team saying that he needs that laptop to be able to review the evidence and decide what to do about it, whether or not to take a plea deal, or at least know what's in store as and when this comes to trial.
And Nick, looking ahead, what are the next steps here? What does this mean for the broader case?
Well, this is potentially a consequential hearing in the fact that it could be one of the last times that we see Malone Lam until he goes to trial. The judge was suggesting that potentially a trial date might not take place until next summer, so another 7 or 8 months away. During that time, he would remain detained in a US jail pending the trial. But things have shifted dramatically over the last couple of months, very much not in his favour. Just yesterday, one of his co-conspirators, Kunal Mehta, pleaded guilty. He was the money launderer in this whole enterprise. He took a 10% fee, garnering millions of dollars as part of this cryptocurrency scam where they were stealing cryptocurrency from multiple users. The thinking is that Mehta will testify against Lam if this goes to trial, and we already know that one of his other co-conspirators, Veer Cheetal, back in June agreed to testify against Lam. So there now is the possibility of at least 2 co-conspirators out of a roster of 12 other co-conspirators who could be willing to testify against Lam if this goes to trial. So a consequential hearing, it'll lay out the roadmap. It might be one of the last times that we see him before this goes to trial.
Well, Nick, thank you so much for that update. There was Nick Harper for CNN from Washington, D.C.